What do you say to those Australians who are looking to travel and break those rules this weekend?
Stay at home. It's as simple as that. It's not rocket science. There is a level of anxiety, particularly in some of these regional and remote areas, of people from metropolitan areas where this disease is more prevalent, coming out and spreading it. We simply do not have the health facilities to support an outbreak. There are vulnerable elderly people who would have to be taken away from these communities to be looked after if there was an outbreak, and they wouldn't have any family around them or nearby. They feel vulnerable as it is, and to bring people out there that may have been exposed to this is selfish. This is about Australians respecting one another, doing the right thing, and simply listening to what the officials are saying. Stay at home. We've done a lot of great work. We've done a lot that's got us to where we are now, but we could blow it all in one foul swoop with some selfishness from a minority that just ignore what the officials are saying.
Queensland has had some great success at a state level. Are you encouraged by that?
Yeah, look, obviously Queensland's gone hard in closing down borders to those that wanted to visit and here on social visits. The reality is we had caravans flocking, surging up here before, and they could have become the cruise ships of the outback, spreading this disease from metropolitan Australia into the bush. And as I say, we don't have the medical facilities, and while we normally welcome those people and we ask them to come back, just at this time it is too dangerous for our facility, for our health facilities to be able to put up any type of response for those people living in regional remote areas. So please just respect your fellow Australian. It's time to stay away.
Okay, very good advice there. Now, the Queensland Premier yesterday on this program flagged that there could be a region-by-region approach when it comes to removing some of these restrictions. Now, you are in regional Queensland. It's a very different situation to what's happening in the cities and along the coast. Would you support that kind of move?
Well, look, as I understand it, Western Australia is already moving to this type of model, and it needs to simply be predicated off the best medical advice. And that's what all the decisions and recommendations have been made, whether it be at a national or state level. And I think I have to commend our chief medical officers and health officers from around the country. They've been calm, methodical, and we've predicated all the decisions off their recommendations. If they get to that point, to that juncture, then I would support it. But that is, we've got to understand, we're not just fighting this on an economic front. We are fighting this primarily on a health front. A primary responsibility of every Australian government is to keep its people safe. And that is what we are doing, listening to the medical experts. And if they give us that indication is those sort of actions could be taken, then I would support them.
Minister, there's only a couple of businesses that are booming during this period. Supermarkets are one of them. Is that being passed on to our farmers?
Well, obviously I have some issues around this and have been quite vocal, particularly around the dairy industry. And again, we haven't seen any increase in the price of any dairy product. In fact, I've written to the supermarkets to ask them to address that in a way that would see that farmers at the farm gate would get some further support. But I think the ACCC has a very important role to play here in ensuring there is integrity in the marketplace, there isn't gouging, and that in fact the cost of production and the increased cost of production goes back to the farm gate. So I think we've got to be very careful. The supermarkets, I have to commend in one respect of making sure our shelves are stocked, and I just ask people to be calm about that. But we need to ensure that money is getting passed back to the farm gate. And I've, in the past, expressed some serious concerns about the role supermarkets play, and I'm watching them very carefully and asking them to be very proactive and forward-leaning, particularly in some industries that have been left behind.
Our farmers also rely heavily on trade. Has that been, obviously, curtailed somewhat? And I note this morning that there is a great initiative with CareFlight taking its first subsidised flight to Taiwan, delivering seafood from Australia to that nation. Can we see more of that?
Totally. And look, while we're continuing to export out by boat, the event of less passenger planes going out means that there's less produce going underneath the feet of those passengers. So it's important that we kept those markets open and $110 million subsidy, not to pay for all the freight costs, but to actually partner with primary producers to send their produce to equalise that price down, gives them the opportunity to keep those markets open. We've got to understand, and please don't panic the fact that we're still exporting to places like China and Taiwan. We're a nation of 25 million people. We produce enough food for 75 million. So it's important we continue to keep those trade routes open. And this just showcases Australian agriculture is not just producing the best food and fibre in the world, but being one of the most reliable suppliers in the world. And it'll mean that we'll recover a lot quicker. Agriculture is the bedrock of this nation's economy at the moment, and it's underpinning not only our nation's security but our food security as well.
Yeah, and we're seeing a bit of rain as well, David Littleproud, which is very good news indeed. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. I hope the rain keeps coming. Stay at home.
Good advice.